Here's the way that the game would be set up for the first chapter. And what you're going to do when you begin the game is you're going to actually read the prologue, which is entitled Bedtime for Tip. And it's going to give you the outlay of the story of exactly what's going on here. It's a bedtime story. And the story consists of Colin's father, the king, marrying a woman named Venestra, and she's evil, and she's put the king under a curse or taken control. And I won't ruin the whole thing because it's a very cute story. Then we go into chapter 1. Now this is your scenario. This is going to give you an outlay of what's going on at the moment, and now you're going to go into your chapter objective, which is going to tell you what you need to do. From there, it's going to show you how to set up your board and everything, and voila, I already did that. So this book is very neat, very clever, very cute. I really like it a lot. So now that I've got the board set up, let me give you a few little rundowns on what you do a little bit further because you're not ready to go just yet. What you're also going to do is you're going to pick characters. Now some characters are not always available depending on what chapter. You have to read your chapter to make sure that you can choose them. That's why it's very important you follow that scenario book. I have Nez, Colin, Filch, and Tilda. I am allowed to use them. Now notice I have equipment. That's from this search pile here. They have starting equipment that's listed on their card. For instance, Colin says he starts with Colin's sword and a leather breastplate. So I've already got both them cards faced up here. They will give me additional attack and defense dice. Now I've got one other thing here that you're going to start out with each character, and that's an attribute. Attributes are interesting because you just can't use any type of attribute. For instance, Resolve could only be used by a warrior class. You would know what kind of class that your character falls in by the wording here. For instance, Colin is a leader warrior. So he could use any attribute, leader warrior. However, for instance, down here, Tilda is a healer, as listed here. So Colin would not be able to use this card. The other thing that's interesting about an attribute is that you get to do a special ability with it. However, it's going to cost you cheese. I'll show you how you get cheese here in just a minute. You can have up to 4 small characters on one single space on the board, so all 4 of our heroes are going to start on the same space here. It also tells us that 3 rat warriors start. You always know where to place rat warriors, or any type of minion, based upon the little footprints that are on the board, here, here, and here. I've placed one on each one of them spaces. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to take the cards that look like mice on the back, and then it has the picture of each one of your characters on the front side. And you're going to shuffle these randomly, so you don't know what you're going to get. And then you're going to place them on the track for initiative. Now the reason that this is important is this is going to tell us who goes first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So right now we have Tilda at number 1, Nez at number 2, the Rat Warriors, then Colin, then Filch. Now each one of your characters has special abilities. For instance, Colin, if he is not number 1 on the initiative order track, he actually gets a little piece of cheese immediately. From there, we're pretty much ready to play the game. Now, one last thing is real quick, is that it tells us that we put the hourglass marker on page 1, and we're going to put the end up here on page 6. If ever this hourglass meets the end, you've lost the scenario, and you got to start over again. Chapter 1's pretty simple though. I've yet to lose this one. So let's go over a few things that each one of your characters can do. For instance, scurry. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a die, and you're going to choose, for instance, we have Tilda who goes first on the initiative track. That's this character right here. Tilda has a base movement of 2. She would roll this die, and whatever number is up here in this corner, she would add that to her base movement. So Tilda can now move 3 spaces. Now, if Tilda wanted to scurry, she would take her movement all the way. Now, this would not be a wise thing to do at this moment, but I'm just showing you for demonstrational purposes. 1, 2, 3. Then she could roll this die again, and whatever that number was up there in the corner, she'd be able to move that many spaces one more time, and that would end her turn. Now let's say that Tilda did move to where she could actually encounter that rat with 1 action still left. She could battle that rat. Now to be able to do that, you're going to look on your character card, and there's a sword, and it's going to tell you how many dice you're going to roll. For instance, Tilda is going to roll 2 dice for her battle. You would also make sure you check your weapons or any special ability that your character has to see if you should add any additional dice. This early in the game, typically you don't though. So let's say Tilda wanted to battle that rat. You can battle as long as you're into 2 adjacent squares, or even if you share the same square. But always keep in mind, if you share a square with an enemy minion, you cannot move off that square until, well, one of you's dead and hopefully him. So if she wanted to battle him, she would take these 2 dice, and notice we have bow and arrow, and we also have sword and shield and just regular sword. Now Tilda is a melee character, so she's going to be trying to go for these swords, no matter what, if it even has a shield on it. And if you notice, we have 3 swords on this dice out of the 6, only 2 bow and arrows, and then 1 cheese. So she rolls the 2 dice, and of course she got 2 bow and arrows. But let's say that she did get a sword and a cheese. If that was her attack, that means that she did 1 potential damage to this rat warrior, and she rolled a cheese, which means that she would be allowed to get 1 wedge of cheese to add to her character. And I'll explain what the cheese is for in just a minute. Not only is it for to be able to use your attributes that each one of your characters has, but it's also for leveling up, which I'll explain in just a minute. Now this rat warrior, his card over here, let's take a look at that real quick. It'll show you what his attack is. He rolls 2 dice, but he also rolls 2 dice to defend with. Now, do you remember that one side of the dice that I showed you that has the shield? That is the only way to block from an attack. You must roll that. So the other player, or if you're playing by yourself, you'd roll these dice for the rat to see if he blocked. Well, he didn't. He got a bow and arrow, and he got a piece of cheese. So that rat warrior would be destroyed, removed from the board. However, because he did roll a cheese, we're going to take 1 wedge of cheese out of the box here, and we're going to add it up here to the cheese wheel at the top of the board here, the initiative track. That's a very important reminder, is that you always have to make sure that you add cheese to the top of there whenever you do roll for the minions, whether they are attacking or if they're defending. If ever you get 6 pieces of cheese up there on that wheel, a surge will occur. A surge is either going to be listed in the scenario book, or it will actually be listed on an encounter card, which I'll explain the difference of those here in just a second. The other thing that a character could do is he could search. So let's say that it's Nez's turn here. If he wanted to, he could roll the die to move. Nez normally moves. He's a slow tank character, so he doesn't move fast. So he only moves a base of 1. Well, he rolled a 1 as well, so he can move 2 spaces. Now, if he wanted to, he could try to search this spot that he is on. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to pick up this die and he's going to be rolling it again. Now, what he's going to be going for is this little burst symbol that you see down here in the corner. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like we got 4 of them on this die. So he's going to hope he gets that, and he did. Because he got that burst symbol, he can draw the top card off of the search deck. Oh, look at that. He got himself a thimble helm. Now this adds defense to him. Now what you're going to have to make sure is that he can actually use this. If you notice the little picture down here, it shows where this helm goes. It goes on top of his head. Well, he does not have anything already equipped that goes on his head. So if he wanted to, he could take this, place it down, and for a free action, he could go ahead and equip it. Or if he wanted to as well, he could turn this upside down to the side and put it in his pack. Sometimes it's important to put things in your pack. And the reason is because, let's take a look at this card here real quick. This is the health of your character. And if you ever receive equal or exceed the amount of health of your character in wounds, your character becomes captured. If your character becomes captured, you are going to lose all of your searched items, with the exception of your starting items. So Nez would always keep his hammer no matter what, but let's say that he had this equipped here with this helm. If that was the case and he ever got captured, he would lose that helm. Now, let's go over recover. Recover is whenever you actually, well, there's several different things that could happen. You can be knocked down, and what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use, for instance, you're knocked over, And what you're going to have to do on your turn is you would have to use your entire turn to stand back up. So it's like you got a heavy blow and you're staggered around a bit, and it took you a whole entire turn to kind of get your wits about you to be able to fight some more. You can also explore. Now, there are rules to exploring. Now, we have little symbols on the board, like right here. It shows like a piece of paper almost, and it's got an arrow that points around on it. That's an explore spot. We also have an explore spot right here. However, we do not have one here. And the reason is that if you don't have these colors matching up, you are not allowed to move from this space to this space. Let's use that again as a good illustration by flipping this one over to the kitchen. If the characters were in the kitchen, they would not be able to move from the kitchen into the tunnel entrance because the colors don't line up either. So it's important that you match up not only the fact that there is even a highlighted area, but you also have to make sure that the colors themselves line up as well as such. To do that, you would spin an action, say you're going to explore, everybody goes with you, and you guys go on to the next space. That is not legal, I just want to remind you, but if you were here, you could go there and everybody would come with you. Another free action you can do is share. Now, you can share all kinds of things. You can share your cheese, you can share your equipment, and that's a free action. And as long as you're on a space with another character, you'd be allowed to just pass back and forth with whatever you wanted. One other thing that you can do is level up for free. Now remember, these are free actions, so you can still, lay the smack down on a baddie, get yourself some cheese, and then immediately level up. If you get 6 pieces of cheese, just like the wheel up here, your character can level up. Simply turn your cheese in. You're going to go to these cards here that have the letter A for attribute, search through them, make sure you match up the class to whichever character you're leveling up, go through and you can add another attribute to your character. Once all the minions are defeated on a board, you are allowed to progress to the next board. This board here, it's not possible for you to progress from here to here, so you would have to search this area here. However, make sure you always pay attention to the scenario book because there's going to be some secrets here that you're going to want to search to be able to get better items that are going to help you later in the chapter. Once you searched there, if it has that arrow that was rounded, that means flip the board over. Now, did you notice what happened? We just now lined up here. So our characters were above ground, they dropped down into the sewer area, and now they're going to be able to go from there into the tunnels of the kitchen. Now, up here in this cheese wheel, whenever the search does occur, sometimes it's going to occur with an encounter card. Sometimes the chapter book will tell you what character or creatures to put onto the board that you're going to fight, and then other times it's going to tell you just to flip up the encounter card. Depending on what page you are on, for instance, we're on page 1, you would match that up to the encounter card. For instance, this would say 6 greedy roaches. The surge would be 2 rats. If ever 6 pieces of cheese are up there, you would remove all the cheese, place 2 rats on the board, and you would move up the page marker. One thing I failed to tell you as well is that if you ever do get captured, you would move the page marker up as well. You have to be very careful with your friends. Don't let them get captured. All in all, that is the basics of how you play Mice and Mystics.